Hey everyone, it is Adrian from the Pageant Project with you, and my special guest for tonight's proceedings is Lydia Harland, who is a Miss Grand Australia National Finalist. Lydia, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you, Adrian?
I'm doing well. You might have seen you are my third interview for today. I think
Yes.
that is a personal record for me. But let us start with your accent. It's not a typical Aussie twang. It's a little bit of a mix. Why don't you tell us where you're from?
Yeah, so I'm initially from England. I was born there. I was born in a town called Northampton, quite close to London. I lived in America for a few years as well when I was younger, up to the age 4, and then moved back to England. And 10 years ago, I moved here to Australia. So my accent is probably a little bit English, but a bit Australian too. Everyone has a different interpretation of what it sounds like.
Yeah, it definitely sounds British to me, but not very strong British. It does sound like it's been moderated a little bit between the American and the Australian. What was there any particular reason that you traveled so much? I mean, you already lived in three countries at such a young age. That's unusual.
Yeah, so my parents used to be diplomats. So they were with the British Embassy, the Foreign Office over there. And when we moved to Australia, they've moved over to the public service system here. So no longer diplomats, but that was why we moved between England and America at a young age.
And obviously, you're currently living in Australia. So why don't you, let's start with England or the UK, then we'll talk about America, then we'll talk about Australia. What's one thing that you miss or you would miss from each country? I'm probably thinking about food here, but if you wanted to talk about something else, what's something that you miss from the UK, something maybe that you miss from America, and something that you might miss from Australia if you ever moved somewhere else?
Okay, that's a good question. So from England would be my family and friends because I spent obviously the largest amount of time there. So that's what I miss the most from there. America, I was so young when I was there. So really, I don't
Yeah.
remember too much of it. So there's not really anything that I probably could say I miss, but I would like to go back there at some point. And Australia, I think it's probably going to be a similar thing if I were to move. I would really miss my friends, and I have family here as well. So, yeah, either country, there's pros and cons to living in both for me. I think with Australia, though, I'm very much a beach person and I love the outdoors and the sun and the weather. And I really love the Australian lifestyle. So I think if I was to move, that's what I would miss the most from here.
Yeah, I have a lot of UK friends, and the ones that visit here, let's just say we sometimes have a difficult time getting rid of them once they experience the something called the sun, which
Mm.
I've spent a bit of time in the UK. Sometimes don't see much of the sun in the UK.
Yeah.
Um, but Lydia, why don't we start with your pageant history? Why don't you tell the lovely people watching or listening how you got involved in the crazy world of pageantry to begin with?
Yeah, so interesting question because this is only my second pageant. So I got into pageants last year, um, just by sheer luck, really. I was just on Instagram and I got a message from Miss World Australia who saw my page and reached out and asked if it's something I'd be interested in trying out. So at the time, especially living in Canberra, where there's not many people doing pageants
Hmm.
here, I was quite unaware that pageants were happening in Australia. So this was something very new to me that I thought I'd give it a go and did my research and showed up on the day. Obviously, new to the whole system, so not really sure what to expect. But from there, I loved every single moment of it and I met some amazing people. Still, who I talk to today, and I'm lucky enough to be competing with one of them in Miss Grand. So that was so nice to show up to Miss Grand already knowing a familiar face. And yeah, that's how I got into pageants. And through Miss World, I found out about the Miss Grand system and I thought it looked really great. And here I am.
Do you know anything about pageantry in any of the other countries? I mean, pageantry in Australia is pretty small, especially compared to
Mm.
America. But had you had any experience or knowledge of pageantry in the other countries that you lived in?
Well, in England, same thing. I guess I was a little
Mm.
bit younger, so I was never at the sort of age I am now to
Yeah.
know about it. But I've always, sort of seen about it on TV and seen it represented in the media. So I guess I had that aspect and that knowledge of it. but I'd never had that knowledge of personally being there and experiencing the whole aspect to it.
So, as someone who's relatively new to the pageant scene, can you describe your first thoughts and feelings when you, I don't know what the first exposure you had at Miss World Australia was, but I can just imagine, I've heard stories of people walking into a room, seeing all these women going, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? This is some sort of cult, get me away. Do you remember your first thoughts or feelings when you first walked into the world of pageantry?
Yeah, so it was only last year. So I do remember showing up on the day, and I think, as everyone else probably was, there were a little bit of nerves, which is completely expected. And then I was a little bit nervous seeing everyone else, but as soon as I got chatting to everyone was so lovely and so down to earth and kind, and that just really put me at ease straight away. And the whole day, it was all just positive, fun memories from what I remember. And yeah, that's really why I fell in love with pageantry and wanted to continue on with the journey.
So, what's been your favorite part of pageantry so far? The connections, interview, the competition?
Well, I guess there's so much I could say here, but the sisterhood is something like none other. The girls you meet during it, the friendships you make, and the conversations you get to have that maybe you wouldn't be able to have in your daily life has definitely been my favorite part, as well as also seeing that personal development side of it. I used to be very shy as a child, and I think as I've matured and aged, I've become so much more confident. But doing the interviews and the question and answers and being so present and up to date with the socioeconomic things going on in the world, I've just really liked the personal development side of that, because even if you don't win the crown, you've developed as a person, and what you have progressed will stay with you forever.
Did you find the interview section challenging, given that you used to be shy? Because a lot of the pageant girls find that the most daunting aspect.
Yeah, so I think for me, I used to be a dancer growing up, so the runway and the performance in the final night for me isn't so nerve-wracking, which I know it is for other people. But I think for me, maybe the interview and the question and answer would be the most nerve-wracking side, because on this stage, you're putting on a performance and you're putting on a show, which is something you're used to as a dancer. But when it comes to interview and question and answer, it's based on who you are as a person. And that's, I guess, a little scarier than it is dancing or walking on a stage in front of people.
I guess to each their own. I think for some people, they'd much rather talk than dance or sing. I have to ask, I'm fascinated anytime I talk to a dancer or dancer, when they get you guys to rehearse the opening number. I don't know if you did that for your exposure with Miss World. Miss Grand Australia certainly will have an opening number and there's dancing involved. What does it feel like when you obviously are an experienced dancer, and then to me it just seems like they'd be some of the girls would find the dance really challenging, and a professional dancer would just be going, oh my God, this is so beneath me, this is so trivial. Do you have any experience with that? Because I'm not a dancer, but I'd be fascinated to hear your insights into it.
Yeah, well, for me, I trained very intensely up until the age of 18, so I was dancing at quite a high level. But it has been a few years since I have danced, so I guess we'll see how we go. But it's just nice just being able to move and have fun and dance. I mean, it doesn't matter what the steps are or who you're dancing with, as long as you're having a good time. So that's what I'm excited for.
That's a good answer. Now, we've got a few comments here. Max has said, "Goo, Lydia." Samantha, I don't know if you know Samantha. She said, "Hot here in South Wales." I have to assume that's South Wales, not hot here in New South Wales, because I'm in New South Wales. You're on the ACT. It is definitely not hot in New South Wales at the moment. We're basically flooding. So I am glad to hear it's hot for once in South Wales. I have a lot of friends in Wales. Now, I know you know Emily, and Emily has said. Now, Emily has a question here, but before I get to Emily's question, before I get you to answer Emily's question, Emily has said she's a terrible, terrible dancer. And when she won her title, I don't know if you saw my interview with her, but she fell off the stage. What tips could you give Emily to help with her stage presence?
Well, if you do see Emily on the stage, I watched her in her Miss Galaxy final performance live, and her walk is amazing. She's got such great stage presence. That's not the issue there. I think, dancing is something that some people are good at and some people haven't had any experience with it. So that's all it is. But no, Emily's got such great stage presence, and her walk and her facial expressions whilst walking and doing her evening gown's amazing. So yeah, no tips I can give you there. You've already got the stage presence down smashed.
That's a very diplomatic answer, Lydia. Well done. All right, so why don't we move to Ms. Egan's question, which is, what is your favorite thing about the Miss Grand system?
I would say my favorite thing is that we get to work with Destiny Rescue. So Destiny Rescue is an organization that saves children from sexual exploitation and human trafficking. They work in 11 different countries and 3 continents. So it's a really great organization, and they do amazing work. And by being with Miss Grand, I've had the opportunity throughout the past few months to run a few different fundraising events to raise money for them. So I'm currently up to around 5,500, somewhere around that number. I had my last fundraising event last night, so I'm still doing the final calculations. But yeah, I think that would be my favorite part of the system. And I love the walking, I love the interviews, the question and answers, all that. But it's just so nice to be able to give back to someone else who needs help. So that's my favorite aspect of it.
Yeah, I've worked a bit with Destiny Rescue myself because I was introduced to them similarly to yourself through the Miss Grand system. And I can't remember the exact number. You may know a more recent figure, but I think for every $6,000 worth of donation, which sounds like exactly what you're close to, they're able to rescue one child from slavery, sex slavery, and they do the whole 9 yards. It's not a simple case of giving someone money and then leaving it. They actually have things such as undercover operatives to get these young children out, mostly girls, and then they also make sure they give them an education so that they can create a wage for themselves so they don't go back into it. So it really is an absolutely amazing organization to work with. Why don't you give us an idea as to the fundraisers that you've been doing? Because, for your first or second pageant, raising $5,500, that's really well done.
Oh, thank you. So just touching on the number you described there, it's actually reduced now. So it's somewhere between 1,200 to 1,800 per child, which is amazing that it's reduced. So that's so many more children you can save with a less amount of money. So my first fundraising event, I hosted a movie night, and we screened the new Top Gun movie because I knew that was a really popular movie. Everyone wanted to see it. So
yeah.
We had 93 people show up, and we raised about 1,200 from that event. My second one was a very Australian fundraiser. I did a sausage sizzle at Bunnings.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
On a very cold Canberra day. So we were all in hats and scarves and big puffer jackets. But from that, we raised another 15,000, which was great. And then 1,500, sorry. And then the last one last night was a trivia night. So I had 2 quiz masters come and had trivia. We had 88 people showed up, and we raised about $2,000 then, I believe. So yeah, a few different fundraising events and lots of hard work, but it's definitely been worthwhile, and it's nice to know that it's going to a great cause.
I know that sometimes the focus in pageantry can be because it's a competition, is to see who can raise the most money. But have you actually paused to think that with the figures that we've just talked about, you yourself will save 4 children from slavery yourself?
And to me, it's not necessarily the amount of money you've raised, your awareness that you have provided to your community too. So, you might raise X amount of money, but if you have, shown 100 people what this charity is, they go away knowing about this new organization that maybe they didn't know before. So even just raising the awareness is an amazing thing for me.
Absolutely. Max here has said, "We love you, Lydia," number 1. and Emily has suggested dance lessons.
I'd be down for that, Em.
Is Emily was practicing with someone? Was that someone you? Her practicing your walks together? Was that you?
We practiced our walks together, so our runway and swimwear walk last weekend. So that was great. Nice to get some. Yeah, it's just so lovely to have someone in the pageant industry in Canberra.
I maybe should have asked Emily this. I forgot to ask, but I mean, you can probably answer in terms of Canberra, the ACT or the Australian Capital Territory for you guys watching overseas, which is the state that houses our national capital of Canberra. How big is the pageant scene down there? Is it just you two, or are there
I
some others?
Yeah, well, there was some others previously. I know there was one or two extra girls that used to do pageants, and I know they are thinking about re-entering next year. But at the moment, it's just Emily and I, as far as I'm aware. So
Okay.
yeah, very small. And interestingly enough, me and Emily actually went to school together.
Wow.
So yeah, Canberra is just such a small world. But we were in different year groups and never really knew each other too much at school. But yeah, still some crazy small world.
It really is. Okay.
Mm.
Aiden here has said always pushing to help others. Go Lydia. Let me ask you in terms of the Miss Grand Australia, which is coming up. I'm looking at the date. When are you girls leaving for it? 4 days time on Thursday?
Yeah, so the event starts on Friday, but I will arrive in Sydney on the Thursday night. And I think obviously it's been a bit of a while since us and the girls have all seen each other. We met for the first time at the pre-judging weekend. So
Hmm.
it's been a few months since we've seen everyone. So I think a group of us are all going to go out for dinner on the Thursday night just to all catch up without the pressure of the judging going on. And then, yeah, all full swing on the Friday morning.
That's a good idea, having a nice get together dinner. So you're not far out from the big night or the big nights or days. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I've definitely put in all of the work and I've done all of my preparation, and I know that I have put everything I can into this. So whatever the outcome, I know that I have tried and put everything I could into it. I'm just happy to see everybody again and to, after, this massive lead up to it, just to go in and try my best. And whatever happens at the end of the day, whether you get the crown or not, I've just been so thankful for the journey and the progress I've made. And I've really seen really have become better in terms of a person. I know that I've gone through a lot of personal development this year doing the system. So I've just had the best time doing it.
And if you were lucky enough to have the crown placed on your head, what are some of the things that you'd like to do with the crown in your year of reign?
Well, I'd like to continue advocating for Destiny Rescue. I'd love to raise awareness further than what I've had with the crown. You have so much more reach you can reach out to. So I would love to continue working with Destiny Rescue, fundraising for them, raising awareness. I'm also a physiotherapist, so I would love to raise awareness into the rehabilitation side of things as well. And one of my goals is to go traveling too. So I would just love to use my reach to raise awareness that way as well.
I was going to get to the physio aspect of it because I always love to ask you girls what you get up to outside of pageantry. Now, when it comes to physio, physios are normally the people when I get injured, I go to see. They give me really useful exercises that I know would work, and then I proceed to completely ignore the advice and do none of the
It's common.
none of the exercise for more than about 2 days. So give us an insight into the daily life of a physio. What do you get up to on a daily basis?
So mine's a little bit different. So I'm a new graduate, so I only graduated in December. So this year for me, I'm on a rotation basis. So every 3 months, I rotate to a different field of physio or a different ward. So before I got into physio, I wasn't actually aware that there was different fields you could go into. I always thought it was just that injury muscular side, like you just
Yeah.
described. but there's actually so many more components to it. You've got cardiorespiratory, which looks at your lung function and your heart function. You've got neurological physiotherapy, which looks at conditions that have impacted your brain, so things like stroke, traumatic brain injury, cerebral palsy. So I didn't really know that you could go down all of these different fields as a physio when I first started out. So what this year looks like for me is every 3 months I go to a new rotation, so I get some different experience in each different field, which has been really great this year.
Does the work you just outlined in terms of strokes or traumatic brain injuries, does that overlap with occupational therapy at all, OT, or are they two completely different fields?
Yeah, I work very closely with OTs, so occupational therapists. Every day at work, really, we're talking to each other, we're coming up with treatment plans, we're referring to one another. We work very, very closely. So that's one of the things I really like about being in the field I am, is you get to work with your multidisciplinary team. And yeah, it's been really great getting to a speech pathology as well. I saw you were talking to Brooke about that, and I've been working closely with them as well. So yeah.
That's amazing work, because you really help people get back to, I mean, we take sort of, when we have our health, I feel we take it for granted, and you only realize how important your health is when you don't have it. In terms of, I mean, you mentioned, obviously, you've done a lot of dancing, and now you're doing physiotherapy, well, you've graduated from physiotherapy. Have you had any sort of brain waves connecting the two? Because I've done a lot of tennis, and it's always interesting for me to see something like physiotherapy and go, I should have done that when I was doing tennis rather than doing this. Or that thing that coach told me is actually absolutely wrong, and I want to go back and give him a good talking to. Have you had any sort of brain waves connecting the two? You must have had.
Yeah, a little bit. I think when I was dancing, there is a lot of pressure on you becoming a dancer. And obviously, sometimes you do get injured, and maybe there were times I should have probably gone and seen a physio, but just pushed through the pain. So I kind of, looking back now, realized, there were times I should have gone and seen a physio instead of pushing through to, progress as far as you can. That's probably the biggest connection I've made there. But besides that, I was pretty lucky in terms of my dancing journey. I never had any significant injuries. But that was actually the thing that did get me into physio, is the dancing side of things. My final year, we did have a physio come join our dancing school, and I just thought his job was so amazing, and that's what got me into it.
Do you get to dance at all? I have to imagine when you've done something for so long and then you kind of stop doing it, you must miss it.
Yeah, I definitely, when I first stopped dancing, it was something that I missed a lot. I think as time went on, I became less and less. I missed it less, I guess, but it was something that took me quite a long time to move past. I think when I first stopped dancing, I probably had a bit of an identity crisis. I wasn't really sure who I was without dancing, because it's something I put so much time and effort into, years and years. And when you've put that much time into something and you stop doing it, you question who you are, and you don't really know what other hobbies you have or what you enjoy. So that was probably the biggest thing for me when I stopped dancing, was who am I without dance? So that's something that took me a while to figure out, but I think that was probably a good thing that's happened to me, because it's made me more aware of who I am, and has really made me really confident with who I am and what I believe in and what I want.
And which one is harder on the feet, dancing or pageantry?
Dancing, definitely.
Really?
It's made walking in heels a lot easier for me, which is nice.
You probably don't feel pain at all when these other girls are complaining about sore feet. You're like, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, like those point shoes.
Robbie has said here, glad to watch you in your interview. Honored to help you during one of your fundraisers. Good luck to you in the pageant. And Ralph, who's actually watching from over in the States. Hello, Adrian and Lydia. Hello, Ralph.
Thank you.
Did you watch that just random question. Did you watch that film with Natalie Portman, Black Swan? That was
Yes.
about. Did you see the scene? I seem to remember like blood flowing out of the point shoes. When you watch that film, I mean, was that at all accurate? It was a pretty intense film.
Yeah, it was a very intense film. It's been a few years since I've watched it, so it's probably a bit
Yeah,
blurry in memory. But I think it was just a very intensified version of dancing. So I think they did get the scenes and the themes quite accurate. Obviously, with ballet, there's a lot of mental stress in it and a lot of
yeah.
physical stress. So I think they did portray that, but I think it was probably intensified quite a lot.
Exaggerated just a little bit
Yeah,
for effect.
very much.
You also mentioned that you had a bit of an identity crisis when you finished, and you had to
Mm,
sort of reinvent yourself, I guess is one way of putting it.
yeah.
So, in this reinvention, what sort of hobbies do you have? So, we already talked about pageantry. You used to
Mm,
dance. You're in the lead up to Miss Grand Australia, and you just graduated physiotherapy. You've
mm,
been super busy with your fundraising.
yeah.
So, in your 5 minutes of free time every week, what do you like to do to relax? Do you get time to do hobbies, to chill out? What do you do outside of everything else we've already discussed?
Well, in the lead up to the finals, as you can imagine, life has been pretty busy,
Yeah,
working full time and all of the preparation. But I think it is really important to still take time out of your day for yourself and just to sit down and relax and do the things that you would do anyway and do the things that really matter to you. I think growing up as a dancer and now being a physio, something that's really important to me is exercising and staying physically active. So whether that's going to the gym in Canberra, there's so many different hikes and mountains you can go up. Going on a walk, I just like to stay active and keep the mind going.
sounds like a good idea to me. Especially important coming from the UK that you can enjoy the sun out here and get outdoors. It's much more
Yeah,
conducive to being
even in the
outside.
winter, it's not too bad.
Yeah, yeah. Although apparently they're having warm weather over in the UK. Everyone in the UK is telling me they've got warm weather. It's hot weather. Wimbledon, they said that the girls said it was really, really hot. I'm like, that doesn't sound like the UK that
No,
I remember, but who
me neither.
knows? I can't remember a really, really hot sunny day in the UK. I can remember some pleasant days, but not really, really hot. Lydia, before we get to the final 10 questions, anyone that you would like to give a shout out to for supporting you?
Yeah, I'd love to start with my mom. She's been the biggest help with all of my fundraisers. She's put so much time and effort into helping me organize them all, especially when I've been at work and sometimes can't always get on my phone to talk to either the organizers or the businesses that are helping contribute. She's always been there to help when I haven't been able to, which has been amazing. My dad as well, the buzzing sausage sizzle, he cooked 800 sausages for me whilst I was
Oh man.
whilst I was organising the event and talking to the customers and getting their cash. My dad was cooking away, and same with the fundraising event last night, the trivia. They helped so much, so I couldn't have done that without them. Same with my brother and sister. I think with the fundraising events, we've all really had to work together to get them done. So it's been a really nice way to bond with the family too.
What have your parents and siblings thought about your pageant journey? Have they gotten fully invested? Do they have no idea what's going on, or are you somewhere in between?
They're all super supportive, especially my mom. She's got fully on board with it. She's
Oh,
been
nice.
researching it, so she's super excited to come to the finals. And yeah, my whole family have been so supportive, so I've been very lucky.
Is your mother British?
Yeah, they're both British, my mom and my dad.
Okay, so when you walk on stage at Grand Australia and let's say they're in the crowd, are they going to be very polite and reserved as we have that stereotype and just, golf clap sort of thing, or will they be standing up yelling your name?
I'm not sure. I'll have to let you know on the night.
You might want to prepare them because sometimes people like really loud cheering, other people find it very embarrassing. So you might need to prepare them for what's about to
Yeah.
come. It will be a good night. It'll be probably a crazy night, but it'll be a good night. All right. Lydia, let's move to the final 10 questions. If you've seen a couple of my interviews, you get
Yeah.
exactly the same questions. So, number one, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word is discombobulated. So it is very fun to say. It's basically just a fancy way to say confusion or to say disconcern. So yeah, I read it in a book a few years ago and the word's just stuck with me since.
Would you like to attempt to spell discombobulated for bonus points?
If you'd like me to, Adrian. Discom. Oh, I'm going to have to write it down.
You've got discom, now we just need bobulated.
Yeah, Bobulated.
Oh no, perfect. That's the first time I've heard that word, I think. I've heard supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, but I don't really take that as a real word. Question
Yes.
two, what is your least favorite word?
Oh, I would have to say phlegm, I think. So,
So for people watching, even in case you don't know what phlegm is, I guess the best way to describe it is, when someone's coughing and you hear that noise in the back of their throat and then they spit,
yeah,
that's phlegm.
mm,
So, yeah, not a okay, let's just move on. Question three. In life, what gets you excited or what turns you on?
yeah. I think having a challenge ahead of yourself or something to look forward to. So, obviously, looking forward to the Miss Grand event coming up. But once that's done, having something else coming up to look forward to, whether that be a concert ahead of time, a trip to travel to, anything. I just like having. It's always nice to have something to look forward to.
And what turns you off?
I would say negative energy. So being in a situation or an environment where there's a lot of negativity, I try and stay away from that.
What sound or noise do you love?
I would say my favorite sound would be when I'd call out my dog's name and he would run to me and you would just hear the sort of the pitter patter of his paws on the tiles. That was definitely my favorite sound.
What breed of dog is he?
He was a chocolate Labrador.
Oh, okay. Labradors. I do love labs.
Yeah.
Uh, what sound or noise do you hate?
This is probably a pretty common answer. It gives chills in my spine just thinking about it. The sound of nails against a chalkboard.
You know how common that answer is?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty common, but that sound just gives me chills.
I feel like what I should do as a joke is just bring a chalkboard to Grand, get my nails, and just right in the middle of the night, just go down like this,
Oh,
and
please
just see how many people scream, cringe, or pass out, or start crying. I interviewed a couple of people when they hear that sound, they just start crying. So, okay. Question seven: if you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Ah, I think invisibility for me, I think that could just come in very handy in lots of different situations.
So you want to get up to no good, basically. Everyone who wants invisibility is so they can get away with something. That's what I told Brooke this afternoon. Like everyone who wants invisibility is mischievous at heart.
Oh, do you think so? I think, oh, I'm not sure. That I always thought that would be a good superpower to have.
Absolutely. Okay, question eight. What job or occupation other than your own would you most like to attempt?
Yeah, well, something I've actually been thinking about recently is obviously I'm a physiotherapist at the moment, but I would love to take my master's in animal physiotherapy or veterinary physiotherapy. I just love animals so much, and if you can do rehab on a person, then why can't you do it on an animal? So
Right.
it's a new sort of career that's coming in, and it's still very new in the industry, but it's something that I'm definitely quite interested in.
I've never heard of that before, but it makes perfect sense because
Yeah,
animals would need rehab just like we would. So, wow,
yeah.
okay, that's amazing.
Animals have strokes too, just like humans, and they need just as much rehab as us sometimes.
Question nine. What job would you definitely not like to attempt?
I would say a paramedic. I think you just have to be such a strong person to do that job. I love doing the rehab side. after that I don't think I would be able to be the first person on the scene and see some of the stuff they have to. So I think
Yeah,
any paramedic's an amazing person.
absolutely. Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I would love him to say, "Here is your dog," and just see my dog running towards me.
Yeah. I think if that was my heaven, I'd have a whole bunch of cats running towards me. We had one dog, but we've had a lot of cats.
Yeah.
They
They
help kept us sane during lockdown. I think a lot of us who had pets during lockdown managed to get through lockdown more easily than people who were completely alone.
I completely agree. And even just being able to get out of your house for an hour a day to walk the pets made all of that difference.
Yeah. How bad was lockdown in Canberra? I've been talking a lot about Melbourne today. Sydney was, well, when you guys had it tough, and then when we thought we got away with it, then we had our lockdown, and you guys were pretty okay. Melbourne was okay, but how was Canberra?
I think we were very lucky here in Canberra, especially compared to the rest of Australia and the rest of the
Mm.
world. In Canberra, we didn't really have too many COVID cases until, I'd say, December, January this year. So we were very lucky. Our lockdowns were nowhere near as long as the rest of Australia's. And personally, I was very lucky being in the health industry that I still got to go to work and
Yeah.
come home. So that gave me something to do every day. So for me, they weren't too bad, but I do know that for some people, they were a really hard time. And I do feel sorry for everyone in Melbourne and elsewhere who had it tough.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's long past us and we can all move on with our lives. Now, Robbie here has said, have a great time in the pageant, have a blast and bring home the crown. Go, go, go. And Sleep Hotel Bangkok here has asked when final? Final Friday and Saturday. The big in-person event will be on Saturday. So I believe tickets are still available. If you go to the Miss Grand Australia Instagram and look at the bio, you should be able to get the tickets right through that.
Yeah.
Well, Lydia, it was lovely getting to meet you and getting to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure. I will keep you on the line for just a second whilst I hang up with the audience, but thanks to everyone for watching or listening, whether it's live or on the replay, and we will speak to you next time. Bye for now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sorority Access is now open, so if you'd like to join an amazing group of women and learn how to be the most powerful, confident, and impactful queen possible, head to thepageantsorority.com. I'll see you there and see you in the next video.